Mhm. Oh, here we go. Here we go. I never stream, so you can imagine I've got some strong opinions. If not, I probably wouldn't be. But yeah, this has gotta be the worst. Gotta be the worst feeling of the season. Um, I can't lie, I was so annoyed after the Brentford game last week that I think this is why I'm even more annoyed this week, because it's not like it's it's a one-off game. It's not realistically. Like, I was so annoyed against Brentford. Gotta be the worst feeling of the season. Obviously, there's been annoying performances throughout December, especially. December was awful, I think, genuinely, but we got through it. So annoyed after the Brentford game last week that I think this is why I'm even more annoyed this week. At the moment, obviously, we're it's a one-off game. It's not. Sorry, I'm sorry. I'm echoing. Sorry about that. I forgot I had my other thing on. Yeah, so sorry. The audio will fix itself. Sorry. I had like 3 different things on. Sorry. Hopefully it fixes itself. Sorry. God, you can tell I don't do this very often. It will fix itself. Yeah. Obviously, I just want to go generally kind of how I feel. I will be going through some of the tweets I've been making because obviously I've been saying quite a lot on there. I think obviously we'll talk to some of you guys in the chat. We're gonna have questions. We'll just talk about stuff. Honestly, just want this to be more of like a nice venting session for all of us. Hopefully, we can just like get things out. I think that's so important. We're all going to be a bit disappointed at the moment. We're all going to be a bit angry. Absolutely fine. We're going to have a good conversation about it, and at the end of the day, I respect everyone's opinions. If someone's really angry about something, and even if I do or don't agree, we'll still hear them out. At the end of the day, because this is one of the important moments, realistically, for all of us to get things that we are feeling out. I have realised that give me a second. I have deleted the thing I needed actually, which was stupid. Right, here we go. Right. Okay. Wait, I'll go on this first. So this is the first thing I kind of want to talk about. This is kind of maybe that's something we talk about later. Where's all my other tweets? By the way, this mascara guy ranged on. So this is what I put on Twitter. I put deserve. This is after we conceded, like literally the minute of. I put deserved. You play bad again, then this is what happens. Arteta has managed the club like a mess for the last 2 months, which is something I agree with. Doesn't necessarily mean like, oh, Arteta's the worst guy in the world. Doesn't mean he's the best. But I do think genuinely, if you just look at the last 2 months, he has done a really bad job of managing this team. And I do put a lot of the stuff, a lot of the problems on him in this sense. But obviously that doesn't justify the players. The players are at fault at the end of the day as well. They are the players out there. And some of their performances consistently, I can't really get behind justifying them playing, which is where I come to Arteta. But I also just don't think they should be doing it. So I just wanted to go through this first, and then we'll see what some of you guys are saying. So basically, this is kind of how I felt in this game. And it's not just this game, and obviously all of you will watch Arsenal, you guys will know. But the biggest issue I just feel like with the team right now is passiveness. Like, I just feel like we are playing Wolves, for goodness sake. Can we just please try and at least have some sort of attacking presence? We scored in the first minute from basically one chance, good goal, well done Saka, well done Rice, great cross. And then, as soon as that happened, there was some things that I were like, okay, they're not in our favour. I get why it's a bit boring, i.e. the pitch was a mess, I felt like. The ball was just not sticking. It was like, getting held up in the water. I felt like all of our dribblers, our big dribbler players, really struggled. And I don't know, there was a certain level of them playing really bad. I think Madueke and Martinelli were awful. I especially think Madueke was quite bad. But I think that also comes down to the fact we all know what Madueke's like. He's got not the best first touch. He's not the best guy at getting the ball down with him quite straight away. He needs a couple of touches to then get his momentum. in this game with the ball everywhere, he was slipping everywhere and he was never getting it, which is not justifying it. Like, he still was bad. But I looked at these sort of things and was like, okay, I get it. But there's also the fact that there was absolutely no intensity at all by anyone in this pitch. We would literally, every time we'd give the ball away to Wolves, we'd sit deep. And I'm sitting there thinking, we are Arsenal Football Club. Not even thinking about the money, because I hate the money argument, because every footballer costs millions now. But even that, we have the money, the players that we have bought. Like, I bet most people that watch the Premier League don't even know half of Wolves' team. They played a 5'5" central midfielder against us, obviously Angel Gomez. Obviously, he brought off in the 20th minute. But I'm like, we should just be on him. He is small. He is tiny. He obviously got injured because he got in that duel and couldn't do much with it. But I'm just looking at that sort of situation. I'm going, why are we not on it more? We scored and we're like, oh, we'll just pass the ball around and be passive with it, and we'll be calmer with it. And I just that was so frustrating to watch that. But then I could kind of get it. But then as the game goes on, this is the problem with Arsenal that we keep seeing, is that you can justify passiveness and quieting the crowd down in the 20th minute. You can justify that. I would say against most away games. Do I justify that against Wolves? Not as much, because they are the worst team in the league, or as good as Burnley, let's say. So I just think you should be blitzing them, but it is what it is. But when you're in the 67th, 60th minute, I mean, we scored, I can't remember the minute Hincapié scored, but the first 15 minutes, or the first 10 minutes of the second half, I should say, before we scored, all the whole time, we're just rushing it. We couldn't get the ball. We'd give it to Raya would get it, boot the ball long. Gyökeres wouldn't get anywhere near the duel. We'd lose it, and then that's it. We're in a low block, mid block again against Wolves. And I was just sitting there thinking, like, just get some touches on the ball, calm it down, work it a little bit better, and then go quicker between the lines. But the problem is when we do that, then we're just too passive. We're just too passive then. That we never have the good level of dominating the ball and calming it down, but having that ability to switch it up. It's even we go from gear 1 or gear 6. And realistically, in football, you need to, hate analogies, but it's more like you have to go slower, gear 1 to gear 2 to gear 3, you know? You need to build the team up quicker, because if you're trying to quickly, like, just for justification, if you're trying to build up really slowly and then straight away, if it's an over-the-top ball, maybe it'll work. But let's say you're trying to instantly do this, like, quick one-touch passes in there, every single player's got to be on the same page. And when you just don't do it for 20 minutes and then you randomly do it once, a lot of the players aren't. I think there was a moment, actually, when Trossard came on that he tried to do a quick pass to someone. No, I think someone tried to do a quick pass to him, maybe, and he just wasn't ready for it. And I'm like, that's why. I think it might have been Jesus. You've got to work with the team a lot better. It just seems like everyone's on different pages all the time. And obviously, I know people have spoken about it, but, like, you know, wasting time, you know, having the physios come on every 3 seconds, all these things where they're fine. We just got to get on with things and get a goal. We're 2-1 up against Wolves. In the first half, we were better than I think we were in the second half. But in the first half, we were really, like, okay, we scored a goal, we had a lot of the ball. But the first 5 minutes that we didn't have the ball, Wolves had that shot from just outside the box. Now, in normal football, when you play football, when I go and play football down the road, you know, if someone has a shot from 30 yards out, you're like, oh, who cares? Calm. And I get it, in football, they think that as well. But I had the same opinion against Chelsea when we played them at the Emirates a couple of weeks ago in the Carabao Cup. Is that if you give Enzo Fernandez, like, 5 shots from 25 yards out, Enzo Fernandez is one of the, like, if you think about footballers and pro footballers and levels of quality, he's still one of the best footballers in the world. He is going to probably score that more than you're going to score, more than the average Joe's going to score from there. You know, I know Andre had the shot in this game, but these guys are Premier League footballers. We're talking top 0.01% of whatever, of sport that millions and millions and millions of people play. These guys can score 30-yarders. It's not against them. And when Bueno scored that goal, admittedly, it's their right back in a left wing position. He curls it in. Okay, I get it. But we didn't go close enough to him. We didn't press him. He's just outside the box. I don't want to give anyone in the Premier League a shot from just outside the box. I don't care who they are, because I know the quality this league has. So I thought that was poor. I thought Raya was positioned higher because obviously he was waiting for a cross. Didn't happen. I think it's kind of his fault to an extent, but I also do think we should have got out quicker to him. I think it might have been Hincapié. It was on his side, so it makes sense. And then the second goal, it was just coming, weren't it? Like, Raya makes it complete. I mean, I actually don't think it's Rice. Like, I think Rice should just catch it, and he does drop it. But I think Gabriel and Raya decide too late if they're going to do this like weird thing. At the end of the day, Gabriel should just headed it away, and it would have been easier. But it's just a miscommunication, which is not the first time that we've seen Gabriel and Raya have a miscommunication in the last minute of a game. Literally happened against Sunderland, where they had made a mistake where Raya doesn't know if he's coming for it, he doesn't know if he's heading it out, and then in the end they go and score. And it's the same thing that happened again. I actually felt bad for Calafiori. He literally just came on and scored an own goal. But it's not just about that. It's not just about the defenders that are the problem. It's just about the whole way that we play. Is the setup, the mentality is just not where. It's a scared mentality. I made a video like last week when we drew to Brentford saying it was scared football, and it is scared football. Some of these players, I can't justify it. No one wants the ball. No one wants to do anything. But at the end of the day, I know a lot of people will blame the players, and that's absolutely fair. Like, I completely agree. I look at the manager when these things the tough gets going, and I look at the manager when our mentality of the game and how we're playing is more of a thing that he sets up than the players. He can say that it's not all as much as he wants, but I don't know how much I agree with that. And this is where I come to this point, which is kind of my last point before I get into what you guys are saying. But basically, at the start of the season, a lot of people will say to you, if Arsenal don't win the league, Arteta should be sacked. And I've never liked that because I've always thought the nuance about it matters. Let's say Man City get 110 points and we don't win the league, then whatever. Like, I'm not going to blame Arteta. But at the end of the day, I think we do have the best squad in the country. We have spent so much money on squad depth to use it, which will be a thing we get onto, which I've spoken out a lot. And then we get into these situations where he's just playing the same dogged, cagey approach against anyone that we play against. And I think against some of these teams, that is unforgivable. And I think the fact it's all about mentality. And I know people have spoken about mentality a lot this season, about the nerves, the PTSD. But as fans, we're allowed to have that. We are allowed to have that through the distrust that we have because this team have come second 3 times in a row. Sometimes maybe unlucky, sometimes, maybe not close like last year. But we have the justification to be a little bit outsy. The fans in the crowd, in the stadium, have a justification to be a little bit worried. I'm not going to, like, the fans are absolutely fair in that opinion, in my opinion. The players are supposed to be professionals. These guys are on a huge amount of money. I don't like talking about that because that's just how it is. But, they're on a huge amount of money. They're on a huge amount of responsibility on their shoulders. You don't play at this level if you don't want to have that responsibility and win things. So they've actually got to do better on the pitch. And the problem is that the fans and everyone will get angsty, will be a bit nervous in games. When you play like this, the more passive you play, the more nervous fans are going to get. And is that the fans' fault? No, I don't personally think so. I think if you played like Man City, where if anyone watched their Fulham game, Fulham made some bad mistakes. Man City gave up a little bit defensively, but they went, I don't know, we can just blitz teams. If they come at us, we'll just score more than them. They scored 3 goals in the first half, brilliant goals. And they actually countered them. As soon as Fulham attacked them, I think their second goal was a really good counter-attack, with their left-back scoring. We don't get that. We don't have that benefit. It's always this slow build-up approaches. And even in this game, we scored 2 goals from what, 3 good chances? 4 good chances? We didn't really create a lot again against a team like Wolves, which is exactly what happened in the first game that we played against them at the Emirates, with the same problems happening. We got saved on that day because Saka did a good cross and they scored an own goal with Mascara. We didn't get saved today, and we didn't deserve to get saved today. We didn't deserve to get saved last time either. But that's why, personally, I can't really sit here and be like, oh, it's unlucky. Yeah, there is unlucky things that happen. They scored a long shot. They scored in the last minute. But, the XG, I'm sure, is really low. But I just don't care at this point. Like, I don't care. We play such cagey games where we're 1-0 up and we're slowly moving the ball around. Players are coming off injured, taking 20 minutes to come off the ball, smiling. You've got people taking 20 minutes to take corners, throw-ins. I'm critical of teams like Brentford and Wolves who take ages to take set pieces. So I've got to be critical of Arsenal. We take so long. Do they understand how good we are? Like, do these players and do the manager understand that we are playing Wolves away? Why are we playing with fear? The only time he doesn't play with fear, and I said this on the video the other day, is the cup games. He never has played with fear in cup games, which is broadly probably why we've gone out in a lot of the earlier rounds. But I don't think that's like a correlation. That just happens sometimes because we can't finish our chances, not that the system was bad. And yeah, this is the thing. This is the whole point I want to get to, is that Arteta will justify some of the things that he does and the way that we play in some of these games because it gets results. I don't mind that. In certain games, like I've said, I don't mind this approach. I think it's game to game relation. Fair enough. But Arsenal win a lot of games. We are one of the best teams in the country. We play good football sometimes. We do good football, I'd say, until the final third. There's a lot of things in our team to like. There's a lot of players that we have are world class or very good. I hate that word, but yeah, very good players. We've got some of the best team in the world. You've seen that in Europe. You've seen that in the league this season overall. So he'll justify the way that he does things because of that result, but that doesn't mean you can't change. You know, Pep Guardiola has changed multiple times in his tenure to win again. You know, look at the team that he won the first Premier League title with Man City, and look at the last one. Haaland didn't even have a proper striker before. They played this more system that we do. We've tried to shoehorn stuff in. And the problem with Arteta is that he doesn't do changes quick enough, and then he'll just do changes randomly the second he gets one. Oh yeah, suddenly I want to do a change. Let's do it. And that is just, I hate that management. Sometimes it needs to be so, sometimes it needs to be like that, but you can't do it. I knew today Saka was probably going to play as a 10, and it's just because he played well against Wigan, which is fair enough. I want Saka to play as a 10, but then you don't play him with Eze, you play him with the setup that we had before, and then it's just all these things that I'm like, what are we doing, man? And I can't really justify it. And I mean, how many wins have we got in the last 11 games in the league, or is it all comms? I don't know. I think it might be the league. Not a lot, is it? It's like 3 wins, isn't it, and 4 draws or something, or it might be in the last 8 games or something like that. That's just not good enough. We had the lead. We could have been 10, 11, and I've always been like, look, okay, we could have been 11 points clear, but at least we're 7. We're not 7 points clear anymore. We're 6 points clear. And we how many points are we clear? I don't even know. We're 5 points clear, I think. And we've played, a game extra? Yeah, so, yeah, if they win, there's 2 points there. Well, I mean, the lead's gone, isn't it? And we've still got to go away to the Etihad. We've got to go away to Tottenham on Sunday, by the way, who have got a new manager, who are going to probably play a new system and go for us because they're thinking, why not? And we are going to play the same players that played today. Not only did we not give rest to some of the players that needed it today, they played and they were awful again. And that is just not good enough. And if we lose on the weekend, will I be surprised at this rate? No. Tottenham are crap, but we're not great either. So that's kind of what I wanted to say in that terms of that thing. Yeah. What have you guys got to say? That's that's kind of what I wanted to say, but it's just so frustrating, I think. It's so frustrating. I think the biggest frustration for me is, I mean, I've spoke about it loads on Twitter, and yeah, like you've said in the chat there, like Zubimendi and Timber playing, to me, is unforgivable. Norgard is good enough to play more than... Do you know he's played about 40 minutes in the league this season? 40 minutes. I'm sorry, but why is he here? What's the point? Like, I don't get it. I just don't get why he can't play against Wolves. This guy was starting for Brentford. He will be fine. I even fought against... the first big criticism I had of Norgard not playing was the Leeds away game. When we were 3-0 up, I mention this all the time if anyone watches any of my videos, but when we were 3-0 up, 70th minute, we didn't bring him on, and we made Zubimendi play the entire 90, ran him into the ground, and then he ended up playing awful the next game. And I was like, well, who would have thought? Who would have thought? I think that was when we had Chelsea, isn't it, in the week? Yeah. And at the time, I was like, what are we doing? And since then, it's the same things that I'm watching again. I'm watching these same players who are not playing well play again. Jurriën Timber was dreadful today. Was he good against Brentford? No. Was he good has he been good for the last month? No. Does that mean Timber's the worst player in the world? No, it doesn't mean that at all. Timber is just a better fit to play against Tottenham, in my opinion, and Ben White is the better fit to play against Wolves. But because Ben White played against Wigan, so you don't want to do that. Ben White seems to be fine. He was on the bench. Didn't bring him on. I just don't get it. What are we doing? So you're going to play Zubimendi and Timber again against Spurs when they already weren't playing well against Wolves? I just don't get it. I just really don't get it. I also agree with you in the chat when you said, why does the manager take off Woklz when the space opens up? I don't necessarily with that point, but I agree with the strikers of how he's used in this season has been just a mental. He is so sporadic with how he uses his strikers. it really does remind me of like when someone plays Football Manager or Career Mode, and they're like, "Oh, I want to shoehorn this guy here who I like," so they play him randomly for games, and they don't, and they do. I don't really mind Gyökeres starting this game per se. He wasn't very good. I don't know. Maybe I would have made that same decision and messed up. But then I think going into a Wolves game, knowing that Gyökeres is probably going to have to start against the weekend against Spurs. I mean, depending if Havertz is fit, but I don't know if Havertz is just going to be shoved into the 11. I don't really get it. But the problem is, I think the biggest issue is that Gyökeres and Eze, no, oh, sorry, not Eze. Gyökeres and Jesus both have their own issues, and I don't think either of them would have been good in this game. I don't think either of them were great, and I don't think it really matched up any well for any of them. I mean, especially when we play long. Oh my god, why does Raya keep kicking the ball long to Gyökeres? We spoke about it after Brentford, and I said that even though he did good passes, and Gyökeres brought the ball down well, we still didn't do anything from them. So I was like, well, when that technical level's dropped, we're going to be awful. It was awful. The technical level was a mess. Gyökeres didn't even compete with Jules. It reminded me so much of that Forest game, which I had a lot of criticism for him with, where he just didn't do anything either. And look, that happens sometimes. Like Gyökeres, I don't think was good, but also we didn't play quick enough. We're too passive. Gyökeres is the striker playing against a back line of 5 players, and we're moving the ball and we're crossing it into him against 5. Like we know how to use Gyökeres, and when we've used Gyökeres in better ways and he's not playing well, that's fair. But when Gyökeres plays in a system that doesn't fit him, and we're playing him in a game that's like not great and it's wet and he can't control a ball, and then also like the fact that we're not even trying to pass it or do anything with it, and then it's like, I don't really know what we expect from him. Like, it's just so frustrating. Yeah. I mean, like, look, like, I don't know, man. I think the last week has really brought like. I mean, it's always been like that with me. I'm always quite open to whatever happens, to having my ideas be changed and stuff. I've always been very open throughout the last couple of months that I didn't think Arteta was doing a fantastic job. But that's why on my videos, I mostly focus on the players rather than system or things. I've barely made any videos about midfielders in our team, barring maybe like, oh, I spoke about it in the Inter game and Norgard obviously the other day. Because I think when it comes down to the midfield, that's a lot more down to dynamics. I also think in terms of Zubimendi playing, he doesn't do enough balls through. That's on him. But I also think that's more down to dynamics. And I just don't really think our dynamic of our midfield has been great since December-ish. Like, I think when Odegaard came back for one game, it looked okay. I think against Everton, it was all right, even though, yet again, we didn't really do anything in the final third. It's even one problem or the other. It's even the midfield doesn't work, or the attack doesn't work, or both don't work, and then the defense makes mistakes, and it's like it's always one problem out of all of them. But it's just that this is the issue. It's so hard to even just like talk about this team because every single game we just kind of play somewhat of the same, but then there's like little tweaks and stuff. But I don't know if the tweaks that we do make a difference. And I don't. Like, sometimes I hate making videos about them because I'm like, well, I personally don't think that made a much difference. Yeah, I think with a lot of you saying like with the Arteta talk genuinely, like even what I'm saying here, I think today and I think the last couple of weeks have opened me up to the fact that the mentality is a real issue. I thought it might have been an issue anyway, but I just thought, oh, the player quality and surely the way that we play is good enough just to get through it. But with Man City getting that, like, Man City aren't that good either, but then they got loads of encouragement because they beat Liverpool because Liverpool actually threw against them. Which is what has happened. City got lucky, but City deserved the luck because they went for it. Do I think Arsenal would be going for a win at Anfield when it's 1-1 in the 90th minute? No, I don't. I genuinely don't. The only time that we ever try to put any intensity on the game is when we're losing, and we barely are losing that often. Like, even the losses we've got this season, Liverpool, like 15 minutes left? Villa, last second of the game, like, that's it, game over. United, what was that? Like 5 minutes left of the game. Like, the only time we lose is late on games. So that's the only time we actually run at teams. Or maybe if we're drawn to like a Wolves late on, like obviously when we did at home. But I just hate that. I just think that you get what you're given sometimes, and this is what we get from playing the way we does. I don't. Like, this is the thing with Arteta. In the last couple of weeks, he's been going on that he's going to change. We're going to play more attacking. And it goes for one game and then he stops doing it. I make a video on it. Oh, look, the attack works. And then he goes back to factory reset and we play the same way again. And it's the same thing before. Like, I think this is why a lot of people have resentful on Odegaard, because we were playing not brilliant football with Eze playing every game. But I think everyone could see that there was a little bit more risk happening. There was a little bit more, I don't know, ambition to try and actually score goals and create. And then Odegaard came in and it definitely went a little bit more stale. But I think Odegaard is a part of the reason why that happened, but I don't think he's the full reason. And I think it's easy for people to look at the games before Odegaard came in and after to blame him. But I think Zuma Mendy's performances since Odegaard's come back have dropped off a cliff mostly. And I don't think that's like on Odegaard about that really. So I think that's one of the issues. Obviously, I'm not going to sit here and be like, we're not going to win anything. I think as an angry person and as someone that is very, the game's just happened, I'm annoyed. I would probably be like, yeah, it's over, like even what the title says. But I ain't going to sit there and say it's over when we are still in head of the league. Like, who thinks the league's over when they're when they're top of the league? Like, I don't have that mentality. But I obviously think that this is concerning. It really just depends on me of how good Man City really are, because I've watched Man City all the time. I know all their problems. I know everything that goes on. I'm in Man City circles. I watch Man City streamers. I watch content creators. I like do research. Like, I know a lot about City, So, and I know their issues that they have. They were playing Haaland into a ground for 5 months, and he was awful for a while. But they've kind of rotated him a little bit now with Marmoush. It just matters in the big games as well, doesn't it? Like, if we went to City away and we did okay, what can happen? But yeah, like, we're not going to get anywhere. This is the thing. I don't mind if we played the way that we did today, if it was City away, or even if it's Tottenham away. I wouldn't mind it. But the fact it's Wolves away, who are bottom of the league, is where I just think it's not good enough. Why are we not trying things against smaller teams? It seems like every Premier League game to Arteta is like be all and end all. And I just think that's insane to me. Why do everything bet your mortgage on City then? And why? Like, the thing is, all of us, if I just went, oh, the league's over, that's such a negative opinion to have. I get that a lot of us are annoyed, and I do think the league might be over in the future, but I'm never going to definitively say it, because then if it's not, everyone will be like, oh, look, you're wrong. Who cares? Who cares what I think if the league's going to win or not? At the end of the day, the league's decided by the players on the pitch and the manager. I think this whole thing with like asking people to be like, oh, what? Who cares? I don't really care if like other YouTubers or whoever they say they're going to win the league. I don't care. Like, at the end of the day, we all have our own opinions. I think that the team is good enough. Do I think that the manager and the way we're playing right now is good enough? No. And I will be critical of that. And I do think, like I've mentioned, like I've said in this stream, like I've said on my videos, we haven't been good enough, and Arteta is at fault. I think Arteta is at fault. I think that the squad selections is unambitious and boring and not doing well enough, and it's too passive. And I've said this over and over and over again. But there's nothing more I can say. Yeah, we might lose the league then. Okay, cool. Oh wow, great stream, guys. Like, there's no point in just looking at everything in such a gloom way. Like, I need, you've got to have some encouragement. We're pissed off at the moment, but I can still sit here and be like, oh, I think that we can do something. And yeah, Arteta might not be that guy. He does change his things, though. He isn't stupid. And I don't think he's stupid. And I know he can do more. And that's where the frustration comes from. We all have this frustration because we know Arsenal can do more. It's not because we know that this is the best level that we are. I think we all know that this squad is good enough to win the league. You can have questions about the manager because we don't know. I can't tell you if this manager is good enough to win the league. But I think this manager is better than Arne Slot. And Arne Slot won a league. So, by that justification, I would say he probably is good enough, but I get the frustrations of how we play. And is it really 2026? Is it good enough to play in this way? I think 3 years ago or 4 years ago, if we played this way, we probably would win the league a lot more, like how we're playing now. And I can see why Arteta transitioned to this style over the style he played in 22-23. But it's funny because I think in the terms of how he's transitioned, and the league has followed us in terms of physicality, set pieces, that things are very important, which we are the best at, which is why we're top of the league. But I do think with the fact that it's easy to justify that when we haven't got the best players in the world a couple of years ago, maybe, and we're still playing Rob Holding coming on as our backup centre back. Now we've got people like Christian Mascara, who's I think unbelievable when he plays. Hincapié, who I think we can all agree Hincapié's looked much better over the last couple of weeks, when a lot of people had big criticism of him just a few weeks ago. And like I think every player in this squad has had moments this season where they've been incredibly good. And they are good players. I genuinely don't look at our squad and think there's any real weak points. I think there's obviously issues. I think in terms of profiles, there's issues. In terms of people like Eze, we spent 70 mil on a 27-year-old. Why is he like he needs to play more? If he's not good enough, if you don't like him off the ball stuff, then why is he here? I get the Madueke frustrations. I understand Madueke's the frustrations there. But like, look, Man City, one of their squad wingers is Savinho. Savinho's awful. Savinho's just not a good player. Like, he's just not been good for City. You know, everyone has their issues. You know, a couple of months ago, everyone was saying that Doku was the player of the season. Doku's been great this season, but he's scored like 2 goals, hasn't he? You know, if that's Saka, everyone's like, wow, this guy's awful. Get him out. He hasn't scored enough. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I think when we look at our problems a lot more than we look at other teams' problems, but it's generally broadly the same. It's just different aspects of it. Everyone in the league struggles with defending. We don't. But then we have these mistakes, which are going to happen sometimes, you know. What happens when you play all the time? I think I've always said this about going for all the 4 competitions. I do think going for all 4 competitions is a detriment sometimes to stuff like the league. It's so hard to win a Premier League title and go for the Carabao Cup, the FA Cup, the Champions League. And we've been kind of blessed with the FA Cup rounds this year, which has helped us get through, which I will say is great. I don't know if we would have played a good side, if we would have had that same energy and won. I don't know. We probably would have been out again. And we're in the Carabao Cup final. We've done broadly quite well in the Carabao Cup. We played some easier games, though. And then we also, I mean, people will forget this if we win it or when we're in the final, but Crystal Palace in the quarterfinals was an absolute mess of a game. Now, that's a bit fair enough because it was in between Christmas and there was like 500 games in that week and we played loads, but we were crap. We were just so bad. We just couldn't create anything. And then all we did was create from corners and we ended up scoring one. And then we conceded in the last minute from a free kick, I think it was, and then we won on pens. But yeah, I mean, and even against Chelsea at home, like we played this way, and I was critical of how we played against Chelsea. I did the podcast with Ford when I said when we did it, I was like, I don't like how we played. We won, so no one really cared, and that's what it comes down to, isn't it? Like I think that's fine. Like I think it's genuinely fine if we win and you want to play like this, but I just think there's certain games that you can't play the way that we're playing. I think Wolves, home and away, is one of them. I think Burnley, home and away, is one of them. You know, Leeds away, I can understand a bit. I think Leeds have got a bit about them. I think they're a decent side. Same with teams like Brentford, who were very good against us, and we were bad in other ways in that game. But this game is just not justifiable, and this draw is not acceptable. And it is one of the. I'm not blaming anyone in the chat who's like, "It's over." I get it. I completely get it. That's just not how I look at things. But I understand that the mentality is like that. We will feel that. We're feeling like it's over, and it's not because of the result, it's because of the way we're playing. If we'd won that game 2-1, I know some people here would have probably been like, oh, it's fine, but a lot of people still would have been annoyed, and that's fair. I was annoyed. I was going to do a video for tomorrow, and then when we were 2-1 up in the last 10 minutes, I was like, I'm not making a video. None of these players have played well enough to justify me making a video about them, and the system hasn't been good enough for me to bother. So I just thought that, and that is fair to have. You know, you can be annoyed at something and still have like that opinion, I think, generally. I do. We can talk about Eze if you want, because I know a lot of you are talking about him in the chat. I think the Eze talk is absolutely valid. I don't know how I feel about Eze. Like, I really don't, and I haven't known how to felt about him at the time at the club, because in many ways, he's the player that I thought he would be, i.e. this sort of like guy that doesn't help with build-up. He doesn't do a lot of this like deeper work, but he's a guy that is very good in the final. Well, a guy that is better in the final third, can help with the team a little bit more, and give us that end product that Odegaard just simply doesn't have. He just hasn't had for 3 years now, since the 23-24 season, which is 2 years ago. Since then, he hasn't really had much, and even that season, it was a bit. 22-23 was obviously a much better thing. I think Eze, every time he's played better, is always with a 10 alongside him. And that also could be down to the fact that he has played some, I would say, easier opponents, let's say. I would say he's definitely played 2 10s in more easier games. But he needs players sometimes to kind of break the lines for him, if you know what I mean. He needs a player that's deeper to play him inside. I've spoke about how I wanted Eze to get on the ball more and come deep and work with it. And I do think he has more ability there and potential, especially with them balls over the top, i.e. that goal we scored against Man City. I know, like 5 months ago now, but that sort of idea is there. I think especially later on in games. But also, there's a certain aspect is he doesn't want the ball there. But then it's like one of them things with when you play for a big club, everything is so everyone's so critical of everything, and we all are. And it's the same kind of issues I have with Madueke as well, where Eze in the pocket is not like good enough on his first touch all the time to justify playing the ball into him because he gives away the ball a lot. Now, there's sometimes that he'll receive the ball in the pocket, he'll push off a player, he'll drag us up the pitch, he'll carry it into space and create. Or he'll make a really quick early pass on the inside, like we saw against Wigan, where he got some really good assists. But the problem is he doesn't do that enough. He doesn't do that enough to justify always passing it inside to him. And I think Zubimendi, and I said this the other day, I think to the detriment of Arsenal, is that sometimes our players are too intelligent. So they don't want to take risks on the ball because they know, well, that's going to lose the ball. He's going to lose the ball. And it's the same sort of idea I had about Gyökeres. You know, I've had people in real life ask me, like at the pub and stuff, like, oh, so do you think Saka like actually hates Gyökeres? And I'm like, I think what it comes down to is at the end of the day, why a footballer is going to keep doing the same thing over and over again when it's not working. You know, if Saka puts 3 crosses in high, which is easier than putting it low when he's got 5 players in front of him, so he kind of has to lift them. And he knows Gyökeres isn't going to score. Then it's kind of like, well, why bother? Like, why do it? And I get that. I do get it. I also do think there's, everyone has to do better. But I get that's the problem. I just think in one of these games, though, if you're going to, like, Zubimendi and Rice is a real issue for me because before, when we played Sunderland away, for instance, I would recommend going to watch that game if you care. Zubimendi played very much more forward. He was in the box. He was actually alongside Eze many of the times and made runs into the box, had great shots, hit the bar. We didn't win that game, but in that game, I saw enough from the performance of the attacking sense of him actually trying to go forward and change something that was like, yeah, fair enough. I've said many times that I still think Sunderland away was one of our better. The second half was one of our better attacking performances of the season. But in this game, when Zubimendi and Rice are sitting, they're nervous. There's many times as well when I'm sitting there like, go on, press him. And Zubimendi and Rice are sitting, really, really far away, marking one player. And then what they do is they just push like Mane up into the left half space and they're putting an easy pass through between Jesus and Saka and he's getting there and Zubimendi's late and then he gets past Zubimendi and then Rice has got to come over. And there's all these worries. The exact same thing happened against Brentford. There was a moment, I think it was in the 60th, 70th minute against Brentford, where they just carry the ball all the way up the pitch. We're sitting back. And then last second, Zubimendi's like, well, I better jump now because he's like 30 yards out. He jumps and then it's too late, passes it inside and they almost get a shot away. And because we get away with it, because the defence does fine, no one looks at these sort of moments. But these moments are important because it just shows the mentality of these guys to not press them. Maybe you can say, well, that's down to Zubimendi being tired. Then I would say, why is he on the pitch? Why is Zubimendi on the pitch? He plays so bad some games and we don't replace him. We just don't. Norgard is sitting there. It's the same with Ben White and Yuri and Timber. So many times, so many years, I've sat there and justified the injuries to right back a little bit, being like, well, Ben White's not fit, so what can you do? Ben White is fit. Ben White sat there for 2 months. And he's played, what, 1 game against Wigan? Look, I was looking the other day, I think I spoke about this in one of my videos. Yuri and Timber has played 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 set 90s in a row. And the first one was the United game. He also played 64 minutes against Inter in the week against United, and I think them games White might have been injured. I think White might have been injured for the Inter game, United game, but he hasn't been injured since Leeds, I don't think. And he also played 90 minutes in the Carabao Cup. We're not even bringing Ben White on. Why? I just don't get it. Why? Maybe Ben White is injured. Maybe there's some problem that we don't know. It didn't look like a problem against Wigan where he looked absolutely perfect, but I don't know. That's the only thing I can say. That's the only sort of like justification. And I like looking at everything both ways, and that's the only sort of both ways look I can give you with Arteta in that opinion. Yeah. Who are you planning to start against Spurs? See, this is the thing. Like, he's going to play Zubimendi and Timber, isn't he? I would have played Timber against Spurs and White against Wolves, but because he's now played Timber against Wolves, I'd just go on play White against Spurs. I don't think White is awful. I think he'd be fine. I genuinely don't have any idea of how Tottenham are going to play. Like, I really don't. I'd never really know how Tottenham are going to play against us anyway, because they're just such a weird team. Like, they are, because they do try hard against us, which I get, but it's just hard to read teams that play the game based on feeling rather than like matchups. And Frank played it based on matchups, and they sat in a back five. And I knew he would, because I know what Frank's like. But I have no idea what Tudor's going to do. I've barely watched any of Tudor. I watched him a bit of Juve when he was there. I don't really watch, like, I've done my research. I know a bit about him. I understand how he plays. But, you know, it's all for one, him coming in and being like, we're going to play aggressive football. But are you going to do that first game against Arsenal? They should do that, because they've had a, 2 weeks break, week and a half break, and we've played loads. I would play White. See, this is a game I would play Zubimendi and Rice, but Zubimendi might be dead on his feet and be awful. Genuinely, I just don't. Norgard isn't bad. Norgard isn't bad. Tottenham, I know they will care about this game more than others, but they are so far below in the league. They're literally in a relegation battle. I don't know. Maybe I'd play him. Maybe I'd just go 2-10. I think the midfield is the biggest issue for me of what needs to change. I don't mind if you want to bring Calafiori back in for Hincapié. I think I would. See, this is the thing. If Timber was playing with someone like Calafiori, I can kind of justify it a little bit. But, I mean, Hincapié scored in this game. He got an assist against Brentford, but he's still not really that attacking guy, especially in the half channel. I know he got a goal from there this game, which is really good work. But he still looks a bit scared, I think, going forward. But I don't really blame him too much. He has a very different role. I don't know. It depends on fitness. But I think, obviously, Raya, I mean, yeah, that's a whole other thing with Raya. Calafiori, I would probably start. Gabriel Saliba, I'd probably play White. I'd just do White. I know White and Calafiori's way too attacking. He's not going to play both of them, but it is what it is. I'd probably play Zubimendi and Rice, but if Zubimendi isn't playing great, I'd probably bring him off early, but he won't do that. Norgard's never sniffing the pitch, so it doesn't matter. Would I go Saka 10? Nah. I think I like Saka 10, but Madueke out on the right is just not consistent enough to do that when Saka's fit. When Saka's fit, he has to start right wing because of the problem. And this is why he's never really played Saka as as an attacking midfielder, because I mean, Odegaard's usually there when Aries there, and then we've never had a good enough right winger. So, yeah, I'll probably play Saka on the right. On the left has to be Trossard. Well, this is if they're fit, but apparently Saka's okay. I don't know. I heard he might be okay. I don't know about Trossard. Trossard took a knock to the jaw. So, I don't know if he'll play Trossard, but I think Trossard should start. Up front, you could play anyone. I'd rather it be Havertz, but I'd rather it be Okras over Jesus. We do. Someone who said that? Wait, let me get my bearings right. Yeah, you're right in the chat. Fizz with loads of Zs and a Y. We do have Chelsea after it, but do we have a week off? Is it a week after? Yeah. So like I can justify like playing your full team for the weekend and then having a game a week later and playing your full team there. I think a week's fair enough. 5-day gap, I'm like, okay, whatever. 5 day and more, I'm like, fair. But when it's like we have a game in midweek, I'm like, that's where I would be a little bit like, okay, guys, can we change it up a bit? Like this game, for instance, because I don't think we got anything from playing our full team anyway. I don't think our full team really worked. Yeah, I think having the week off is big, and I don't mind that after Chelsea. But this is the thing. It doesn't, like, the thing is with Arsenal, we are the most weirdest team in the world because a bad result against Wolves, a bad result against Brentford doesn't mean we're going to have a bad result against Tottenham and Chelsea. But I get going into these games why we're all nervous about them now, because these are teams that are better, especially Wolves. Brentford are a good team, and I don't want to diss Brentford. They're actually pretty good at home. They gave City a good game at home as well. But Wolves genuinely are bad, are a bad team. I can't say I've watched too much of them this season because I'm not watching Wolves respectfully, but Yeah, they're not great. I've watched them both the times we played them, and I've seen. As also, I want to do say this. I do want to make this point. I've seen some people say that like Wolves played well. We've got to give them credit. I am always someone up for that. I'm always up for giving people credit who play well against us, because it's not always about us. Sometimes teams do better us because they've got good players and they turn up on the day. I think a great example is Aston Villa. I get some of the dynamics didn't work, but when we played Aston Villa away, I kind of felt like fair enough. Villa kind of did us there, but when you play so passive, when you play bad, these teams are going to get confidence. Wolves played really well against us at the Emirates and here, and Wolves don't play well against anyone. After they lost to us at the Emirates, they literally went and played Brentford and just got absolutely like nowhere. Obviously, we know Brentford are a good side, but like I just think it's our fault. We let Wolves play their game, constantly sitting in the low block, mid block. We're playing Wolves. They're bottom of the league. Like, and we're not in 20. I don't know how to what years to kind of suggest this in, but in 20, let's say, I don't know, let's say 2019, for instance, if you had a team who are bottom of the league, let's say Norwich, you're going against them and you sit deeper. Yeah, they are probably going to not know what to do, because how are Norwich going to know how to break down a low block in the Premier League? They're just not going to be used to it. But every single team plays low blocks now at some points of games. Us playing it against them is not justifiable. I've watched Wolves play. I think Wolves play Burnley, and both teams are just sitting in a low block at different times. Yeah, I don't blame them. I would expect them to, but they've got to be used to doing it a lot more. Well, I don't think the problem is the social media fans. I do think that, yes, people, maybe like me, maybe like other people, hyperbolically say things or are passionate about certain things. But no, we're not the ones on the pitch winning the game for them. At the end of the day, if they don't win the league, it's on them, not on me sitting here. It is on them. It's at the end of the day, I'm not gonna babysit them. I hate talking about the money, but the amount of money that these guys run and what they can do is insane, that some people just refuse to give any critical analysis of any of them. I never give hate, because I think the hate in football is stupid, but you've got to be critical of everything. I'm critical of everything I do ever, of all the people I talk, everything you do, every interaction, everything. I'm critical because you have to be. If you want to get better, if you want to improve at anything, you have to be critical. And okay, it's not necessarily my job to be critical of stuff, but we are the fans at the end of the day. We are the ones that are allowed to have feelings about the team. If we're annoyed, even if I don't agree with some of you, we're allowed to be annoyed. We're allowed to have our feelings. I've said this multiple times, we're just allowed to have it. The players are as well. They're allowed to have their feelings in the game. They're allowed to be annoyed. They're allowed to show frustration. But why don't they do it in terms of actually showing energy? Like I've said many times, it's not about just playing well, playing bad. It's about energy levels. It's about trying sometimes. And does it feel like we're actually really trying? We showed more fight after the game than in the game. I know everyone said that, but these are things that you do see from just watching, and you're like, how can the fans get behind that? How can we sit here and be like, yeah, this is great? Because this is a big 4 months, not only for the club, not only for the manager, but the players. A lot of these players, I've said this a lot of time, a lot of our attackers especially are on, I don't want to say fraud watch, because they're not frauds, but they're definitely on, I would say, a watch to see if they don't play well in the next 5 months. I would be really considering any of them to go, other than Saka, and probably Eze and Yokwez, because they just joined. But Trossard, Martinelli, Havertz, Jesus, Odegaard, any of them players are in a situation where they have to play well. If not, I think they can be sold. Maybe it's based on if this guy plays better than this guy, then he can stay, sort of thing. You don't have to be the worst. You just not got to be the worst, not be the best. But I just really do think that sometimes, and I completely get with. I completely get with some of you were saying. Yeah, it's SSG, and I'm tired of Arteta. Yeah, 100%. I feel that. This is the thing. I think that's what it comes down to. I think we've all got fatigue. Talking about the players getting fatigue, I think we have all got fatigue on Arteta to an extent. Some of us believe in him. I'm probably more, yet again, I'd say I'm a little bit probably more like Arteta more than probably a lot of people in here. But it's patience, in it, and everyone's patience has ran out, and I can completely see why. Deserved. The patience has run out with the fan base, and it will continue to run out when we play like this. It's not just about the results, is it? It's the way that we play, even when we win. That is the biggest issue. of the team, isn't it? Like that's the criticism that we all have. It's not about, oh, we're not winning. We are winning games. We know we're winning games, but it's just like every single game we're like ripping our hair out. Can we have a simple game against Wolves? Nope, 2-0 up, and then we just messed up. 2-2, great. Brentford 1-1, we messed up. Oh, great. And then even the wins that we get, like we beat Chelsea, we sat there, didn't move the whole game, and then we scored the late on. Like, I don't know, man. Like, I think we're all aging really quickly watching this team. I think I've aged so much, especially the fact like making content and talking about this team every day of my life. Like, honestly, I'm not used to this stuff, but but I don't know, man. I feel like this conversation has been good because I do think that I feel a bit better, I guess, but I feel like the frustrations are really true. The Tottenham game is going to be really big, I think. Um, do I have the confidence that we're going to beat Tottenham right now? No. No, I don't have confidence. Doesn't mean that we won't win. No, of course not, like I said, but I'm not sitting here saying that. I don't really know if I believe the team too much. Yeah, Chelsea got a red. Yeah. Yeah, when we played Stamford Bridge. Yeah. Maybe we should just hopefully we just win one trophy. I do think like the Carabao Cup is a really big thing. Like obviously coming up. Obviously, if anyone's watched any of my content, you know that I'm a bit of a Carabao Cup hater. I've asked for that tournament to be demolished about 15 times on the internet. And I still believe that. But obviously for us mentally, I think it is a big thing. This team, I have big question marks about it mentality-wise. I don't really have questions about quality-wise. I think the quality is still good enough to win the league. I just have more questions about, I mean, obviously some players have bad games. I don't think every player that we have is amazing, but I also don't think every player like other clubs have is amazing. I think that's just kind of where football is at the moment. You spend 50 mil on a player and he's just mid. Like sometimes he's just mid. That is sometimes how it is. Like Wolkmaar, I love that guy, but Newcastle spent 80 mil on him and he's just mid. In my opinion, he's a mid player like at the moment. Like, and obviously you buy him for potential and all this other stuff, and I get that. But the Premier League don't care. Premier League want instant results. We look at the players that we're talking about now, like Madueke. Madueke was signed for potential, but I can't lie, it's so frustrating watching Madueke play sometimes. It's so frustrating. Like, I think that guy's great, and I still think that fair enough. Like, whatever. I mean, I don't know if it was the best signing in hindsight, but at the time I was very much up for it. So I can understand why the club made it. I'm not gonna like be like, oh, that's about like they should never have signed him, because I was the guy that was saying they should sign him. So like, how can I say that? I don't believe that. I believe that he would have been okay, but I don't know, man. He's so frustrating to watch. Yeah, so, I mean, the fans have no effect on the game result. I think the fans do, but a little bit, but I don't think it's as big as much people make it out to be, really. The couple of thousand Arsenal away fans that went all the way to Birmingham and then to Wolves above it in the rain, in the snow, or whatever's going on outside, and then watched our team just absolutely sit there, not even try and score goals, score twice, and then just give up a 2-0 lead. I don't think it's their fault at all that we drew. Like, it's not their fault. Like, poor guys. Like, it's just one of the things. Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's the same Gabriel and Rice situation did happen against Sunderland, and we drew 2-2 in that game. It's the exact same situation. When it happened the first time, you're like, fair enough, it happens once. When it happens twice later on, you're like, bit worried. Bit worried. Do you think Newcastle could do something to City? Sometimes I just think things don't go away. Like, Newcastle have just played in Carabao today, wasn't it? Miles away, and now they've got to go to City away. I actually think Newcastle have been better the last couple of weeks, which is silver lining. I think they've actually been poor for like 3 months, but they've actually been okay recently. They played Wolkmaar in midfield though today, so I wonder if they'll do that against City. Probably not. He probably won't play. I don't know. I think Newcastle are definitely a team that can give City some threat. I don't think City are that great defensively still. I think Kuzanov is incredible, and I think all their other defenders are okay. I think they're all okay. And I just really do think you can get at them. But that's the thing. We're just waiting on Man City to drop points again. When they drop loads of points to teams like Brighton, they drew 1-1 at home, and then we just didn't do anything. Some of the results that we dropped points is whatever. Some of them are whatever. Like the Brentford game, for instance, whatever. Like, okay, cool. But the United game, I don't think was fair. I don't think we justified that. I don't think we justified this game playing well enough. I don't think we've played well in some of these games at all. I don't think we played well against Brentford either, but I think Brentford genuinely played really well against us. I don't think United played incredible against us. They scored 2 long shots, and I don't really think Wolves played well against us. Like, I'm seeing people say they played well. Like, I'm watching them kick the ball up to their striker, and their striker just, like, make a touch, and then slip on the floor and give it away. I'm like, we're crediting that as good games, are we? Like, if Gyökeres did that, we'd all be like, well, this guy's awful, yeah. And we are. Like, when he does do it, I was like, there's no way. This team looks awful. Like, when they play football, even today, they played crap. They weren't good. But yeah, it's not about the results. No, that is true. You guys are right. It's just about the performances overall, isn't it? It is just about the performances. We can justify. I mean, obviously people will still be angry, but you can justify dropping points in games where you've gone all out. Like the Sunderland game, we made a mistake in that, but I justified that because I thought we actually played well in that second half, and I didn't care that much. And I saw a lot of big YouTubers make videos being like, "This is why I think we're going to win the league." And that game, I always mention it because I think that was a real turning point when I thought that game and the Newcastle game. But since then, what has happened over the last 2 months? I said it on Twitter. I think Arteta has completely factory reset. I think the players have as well. I think fatigue is set in where, like, that's the thing. I think the players are more at fault for the in-performance stuff. But then I think that's down to fatigue. And then I think the fatigue is happening because of Arteta, because he's not rotating well enough. So I'd still kind of think it's Arteta's fault. I don't know, it's everyone's fault, isn't it? It's no one. I don't. You can blame someone more than the other, but it's still ultimately all their fault. You know, the players and the manager and the team, everyone. So, yeah. I don't know though. That the problem is though is like I think to end on this, like the problem is like we know that Arteta's probably going to be here. He has the keys of the club. He's allowed to do what he wants at the team. You know, you think about most of the backroom staff are actually newer than him. He's like one of the most like senior members of this squad in the club at the moment. And I just really worry. Like, I know Arteta is reflective. I know Arteta is good enough to change. I know he's not stupid. But I really worry if I don't know. I just worry that if we don't win the league this year, and let's say that we don't sack him, because we're not going to sack him, even if some of us think that should happen, he's not going to get sacked if we win the league, and that's something that's probably just going to be factual. Say we don't win the league. Okay, let's say we don't win anything to make it more generalised. Say we don't win anything. I'm just worried that Arteta will just still be here playing the same thing next season over and over and over again, not learning. He learns, but he learns at a slow pace at the moment. Yeah, I don't know. It's just one of them things. And I get it's not easy to win stuff. I'm not saying it isn't, but this squad is incredible. You know, you don't invest I get the investment, but you don't spend like, you know, think about it, 45 mil on our backup left back who's ended up playing loads. Like, you know, the money we spent on everywhere is kind of crazy if you think about it. Other than like Mascara, like Zubimendi, we spent like 60, 70 million euros on. It's actually insane the amount of money we spent. We spent 70 mil on Eze and he just sits on the bench. He doesn't even play. And he comes on, he's just not even that good sometimes. 70 mil on this guy. Like, I get in other positions we've been kind of blessed, like Saka, Martinelli, they were pretty cheap. But then Jesus, 45 mil. Havertz, 65 mil. Gyökeres, 53 mil. And I think we all have problems with all of them. You know, some of the others are fine, like Odegaard, 30 mil, that's calm. The defenders, the 2 centre-backs, the keeper, that's calm. But you can't spend this amount of money on all these players and be like, oh, look, you know, it is what it is. You know, we didn't get it this year. It's like over and over and over again, if this keeps happening, like, what is the point? You know, what is the point of keep falling into the same habits? Oh, Arsenal need a left winger to win the league now. All they need is a left winger. Or if Arsenal sign a proper attacking midfielder, all they need is to win the league. I just don't agree with that. This team is good enough to win the league. This team has enough attributes. Is there places where we can upgrade? Yes, obviously. Is Trossard and Martinelli, Saka and Madueke probably the best winger combination you want for a team that plays such very intense wing play? Probably not. But they're still good players. They're still good enough to win the league, in my opinion. Is our strikers good enough? I don't think they're amazing. I think they're good enough to win the league. I don't know how I feel. I just think we can't. The thing is, I am one of the most positive, and this is the thing. Well, yeah, if we win the league, we can talk about that. If we win the league, I won't. I know a lot of people will still be very negative on Arteta, but I think a lot of people will just be like, okay, it is what it is. That will be a monumental moment. I've never seen us win a Premier League title. And I've said this is why I've always had so much belief in Arteta, because I've never even seen us be this close. This is the best Arsenal team I've ever seen. I started watching Arsenal in 2009 when I was 8 years old. This is the best team by far I've ever seen us. And that's why it's even more frustrating, because we can do more. This isn't 2015, Arsene Wenger, where it's like, oh, let's hope that one player turns up and, we play some nice football a couple of times, but we're going to give up loads of goals because we don't know how to defend. Like, this is a team that is capable of winning on all fronts if they have to and they want to. That's why the management has to be better, because there is no excuses, in my opinion. And that's why I am more critical, because we are good. I think if we were awful, respectfully, I'd just be like, well, it is what it is. Like with Tottenham, it's why I look at Tottenham with Frank, and I think Frank was bad for them, but they have no midfielders that can pass the ball. So I'm just like, well, their defenders go rogue, their midfielders can't pass the ball, and their attackers as bad as ours. So I look at it and go, yeah, fair enough. It is what it is. But I look at our players and I'm like, do I think Woklz is the best player in the world? No. Do I think Havertz is? No. Do I think Jesus is? No. And I think the striker is probably the one position I would be like, yeah, I can understand justification there in the way we play. But look, Saka's got a 300k a week contract. Saka, okay, yes, yeah, I think he's been quite poor. Not poor, he's been good. He's actually been really good. I'm getting media. He's been good this season. He's been really good. But he's had games where he's been quite poor. It's been his worst season as well, I'd say, for a while. But there's been seasons where that guy's been undeniably one of the best wingers in the world, last 2 seasons. And it's just like, we still are not doing anything. Yeah. I think the biggest issue is the midfield. I know the attack is awful, but the attack's just like, whatever. It's always like that. The midfield, in its incessive need of progressing the ball and then giving the ball away anyway, is poor. And I kind of think we need a change. And the thing is, that people don't realize this, but the seasons are so long. Things change throughout the seasons. You can play 10 games at one point and be like, oh, this midfield worked. And then you play another 10 games and go, oh, they figured that out. Let's change it up. And I personally think that's kind of how you have to do it now in football. I think it's so adaptable, football is, that you have to continually change it. So I think the Zubimendi and Rice, as much as it works and as much as it is great, I think mostly Zubimendi is really tired, but I think there needs to be some sort of separation from that. Now, what do you do in that situation? And I'd probably just play Norgard. I probably would just play Norgard. I would rather have played Norgard against Wolves than against Tottenham or Chelsea. But in my opinion, he's forced us in a situation where Norgard has to play against one of them games. Will he? No, he won't. He won't really, will he? We'll just run Zubimendi into the ground. Zubimendi will play like awful on Sunday. We'll be having the same conversation, and it will cost us. It will happen again. It will just happen again. And I won't be surprised. I don't know if Trossard's going to be available, but he got knocked in the jaw. It wasn't like a, I don't know, leg injury. So might be okay, but then the North London W is soon. I wouldn't expect it to be out for that long. Yeah, it did. Well, it did seem a little fake with time wasting, but then he came off. I don't think it's too bad. I don't know. He might not be back for the Tottenham game, which is annoying. But yeah, it's not great. The time wasting did do us. I will agree. Us time wasting with 10 minutes there. Like, what are we doing, man? We're Arsenal. Like, it's so annoying. Yeah, I think I've kind of I've vented a little bit. Just frustrating, isn't it, really? We all just want better for the club. Like, that's the thing at the end of the day. And it's just hard to get behind a team that play in almost ways where, like, I don't even know what's a good analogy for it, but it's like when you tempt something to happen and over again, and then you, like, cry it happens. And it's like, well, maybe if you just weren't being an idiot, maybe if you were just trying to win a game, then you could go for it a little bit more. Like I said, I'm not saying run at teams with loads of space when we're 1-0 up, but I would trust Arsenal to be able to defend Wolverhampton Wanderers on the break more than anyone. And then in the end, it doesn't even matter because we sit in a block and then they end up scoring a long shot and a goal from a mistake that we made. So all of that, like, whole like reason you wanted to sit defensively didn't even matter. And it's just like that sort of stuff is just so annoying. And we are hated. This is the thing. A lot of Arsenal fans, I know it's hard for us. A lot of us don't stick together. A lot of us have different opinions, and a lot of people are very aggressive online. Trust me, I get a lot of messages that are very, very aggressive. But we are very much like over the last couple of weeks. I think it is crazy some of the things that not only people have been saying about us, but how people treat Arsenal. You know, how people treat Arsenal fans with no respect. How people treat football with low respect. When I'm sitting there like, you know, if I was walking through the street of someone, I would see someone I didn't know and I'd treat them with respect because unless they've disrespected me, then okay, well then you can have a different conversation then. There's no reason to be like that. But people hate us. People are so disrespectful to us in the media right now. People think that football's the be all and end all of being horrible to people. I don't get it. Situations, I mean, footballers as well seemingly can't, you know, can't calm down in time and are stupid and say stupid stuff. And the fans say it as well. And I get it, but I just think, yeah, that's what the thing. That's why I just want to like stick together, like kind of thing. And at the end of the day, I think we're all pissed off, and I think we all have a right to be pissed off. To be honest, I don't think I'm gonna sit here. I'm going to sit here and be like, oh, yeah, well, no, we're actually going to win the league still. Do I think we're going to lose the league? No. Well, maybe. I don't know how I feel right now. Am I going to sit here and say the league's over? No, that's just not the creator I am. That's not how I think. Am I going to sit here and justify some of you saying it's over? Then no, you guys can completely say that. That's on you guys. I respect that opinion. Like, I'm not going to be like, you guys are wrong. You guys are right. I respect it, but I'm not going to sit here and say it myself. But for now. For now, let's say. But obviously, Tottenham game's big on the weekend. I'm guessing we play after Man City because we play late kickoff on Sunday, so I would assume that we play after them. Yeah, they do. They play Saturday night, which is going to be frustrating because I'll probably be not paying attention to that, so that'd be fun. Yeah. I mean, we could definitely play Skelly in midfield. Even doing something like playing Miles Lewis Skelly out on left back where he inverts into the middle and then you play him as a double pivot with Rice, I think works better, to be honest. In games like against Wolves, I wouldn't do that against Tottenham, but I'll do that against Wolves. I don't see why not. Risk it. Who cares? You know, have 5 defenders, have 5 attackers. But yeah, like when you play like in is like not defensive, but it's so hard to like categorize him because he's not as attacking as Calafiori. But when you're playing Capie and Timber, and then you've got Rice and Zubamendi, oh my god! Oh. Against Spurs, that's fine, but against Wolves, no, not having that against Wolves. Yeah, 100% Pete Ward, by the way. I think Timber's the person I'm the most annoyed about in the team, to be honest, even more than Zubamendi, because I can. Well, I guess it's Arteta's fault, and that's probably the person I'm most annoyed about. But yeah, Timber has really been annoying me the last month. Like it's like 6 weeks now. I did a tweet about him being dropped. He should have been dropped about 8 days ago. No, 8 days ago. It's like 5 days ago. And he still hasn't been dropped. I just don't get it. We could drop him for Wigan. Wow. Yeah, I think I've said everything, to be honest. We've been going for a very long time. Yeah, I don't really like streaming a lot, obviously, just because it's a different medium. But I probably will be streaming tomorrow on Forder's channel. I think that's when we're moving our podcast to Thursday nights. So go on Forder's channel if you want to watch me there. We'll probably rant even more. I'll just be ranting with someone this time, not by myself. So if anyone wants to talk on that, there. I appreciate everyone for coming out. It's been good, I guess. We're so miserable. Like, I'm glad. Thank you. I appreciate you guys for all being here, but I think we're all very frustrated, and it might be the beginning of the end of certain things. But I don't. We'll see what happens. That's all I'll say. Look, I don't want to go crazy too yet, but yeah. Appreciate you guys as always. It's on. Well, wait. Give me a sec. Give me a sec. Oh my god, why is... Hello? YouTube is glitching. Yeah, this is not great. Okay, I'll put the thing in the... Would you say our defense is still the best? Okay, before I go, I will say, yes, it is still the best in the world, even though we make mistakes. Everyone other defense is awful. No one can defend in football anymore. Okay, thank you guys. See you in the next one.